Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a beast of a topic, and I mean, quite literally, we're looking at the absolute chaos that is the modern transport industry.
It's a mess out there.
It really is. You know, the drill fuel costs that seem to go up every time you blink, demand that's, well, impossible to predict, and margins that are so tight they practically squeak.
It is a high-pressure environment, to say the least, especially when you look at the context of, say, South African operations, which is where our source material focuses.
Right.
Though the lessons, they really apply anywhere wheels are turning. You're dealing with infrastructure challenges, security risks. It's just genuinely chaotic.
Exactly. And usually the advice is just work harder,
Right.
drive faster. But today we're looking at a guide from the folks at Greystride, and they suggest the answer isn't doing more of the same. It's about doing something different. It's about leaning out.
Lean principles. And I know what you're thinking.
Hmm?
Skepticism is the usual reaction.
Right. Lean. Isn't that for manufacturing? Like making cars in a factory with robots. Does that actually translate to a muddy truck yard?
That's where it started, yes.
Yeah.
But the core argument Greystride makes here is that lean isn't about robots, it's about flow.
Flow.
And nowhere is flow more critical than in transport. If the wheels aren't turning, you aren't earning. Lean is just a toolkit to identify why the wheels aren't turning. To take that chaotic operation and turn it into a streamlined, resilient machine.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, to unpack exactly how to do that, how to cut the waste, and spoiler, there's a lot of it, and how to empower the people behind the wheel and behind the desk. So let's get into it. Imagine you're a fleet manager, everything is chaos. Where do you even begin?
This is the critical first step. You can't fix what you can't see.
Okay.
And in transport, so much of the problem is invisible. The truck leaves the yard and it's gone. You don't see the process. The inefficiency happens in the gaps.
The black box between the depot and the destination?
Right. So Greystride suggests a tool called value stream mapping. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think, oh, I have GPS, I can see the truck. That's a geographic map.
Yeah.
This is a map of time.
A map of time. Okay, unpack that for me. How do you map time?
You map every single step, from the exact moment a load is booked to the moment that vehicle returns empty. You're not just mapping the driving, you're mapping the paperwork, the loading delays, the fueling stops, everything.
So if a driver spends 45 minutes filling out a form that nobody even reads, that goes on the map.
Exactly. That is a process step. Let's say a driver spends 45 minutes every morning waiting for a gate pass because the printer in the office is jammed.
45 minutes.
That's 45 minutes of lost utilization every single day for every single truck.
And if you have 20 trucks, that's a massive amount of lost time.
Precisely.
Right?
But unless you map it, unless you actually write down step 4, wait for printer, that loss just stays invisible. It feels like business as usual. The map exposes the bottlenecks.
The choke points.
Right. Maybe you realize there's always a queue at the gate at 8 a.m. or, I don't know, too many administrative tasks before the truck even starts.
And the source identifies these as your quick wins.
Precisely. Once you see it, you can attack it. You don't need some $1 million software upgrade. You might just need a second printer.
I love that. It's like putting on x-ray glasses for your business. Okay, so once we have the map, we start seeing things we don't like. The source calls them the 7 enemies of efficiency.
It does sound a bit like a kung fu movie, doesn't it?
It does, but I have a feeling it's about money.
It's definitely about money. In Lean, these are the 7 types of waste. And the definition of waste is very strict. It is anything that does not add value for the customer.
So if the customer doesn't pay for it or doesn't care about it, it's waste. That's a harsh filter.
It is. Does the customer care that you double-checked a spreadsheet? No. So it's waste. Greystride breaks them down into 7 specific enemies for transport.
Let's walk through them because I think everyone listening is going to recognize these. Number 1 is overproduction.
Right. In a factory, that's making too many widgets. But in transport,
You can't overproduce a delivery, can you?
you'd be surprised. It's running capacity that isn't needed. Scheduling a truck for 8 a.m. when the cargo won't be ready until noon.
Ah, so you're producing a transport slot that just goes unused.
And you're burning fuel and driver hours. Or setting a 30-ton truck for a 5-ton load just to keep the truck moving. That's overproduction.
Right. Moving air. Nobody pays you to move air. Okay, number 2, waiting. This feels like a big one.
It's the silent killer. The driver, standing idle. Paperwork isn't ready. Delays at the loading dock. Every minute that wheel isn't turning.
You're losing money.
Pure waste. In South African ports, for instance, dwell time is a massive, massive issue.
And it's just frustrating for the driver, too. Nobody wants to sit around for 4 hours doing nothing.
It destroys morale, and it kills your turnaround time.
Okay, number 3, unnecessary transport. This one sounds redundant. Isn't all transport necessary?
Not if it's inefficient. This is things like backhauling empty. You deliver goods to Cape Town, then drive all the way back to Johannesburg with an empty truck.
That whole return leg is waste.
Exactly. Or poor route planning where you're driving miles you didn't need to because the dispatcher didn't check for roadworks.
Okay, number 4 hits close to home for anyone in an office. Overprocessing.
The bureaucratic nightmare. This is doing the work twice. Duplicate data entry is the classic example. The driver writes it down, a dispatcher types it in, someone in finance types it in again.
3 people doing the same job. And every time you retype it, you risk an error.
Yes. Lean asks, why can't the driver enter it once on a tablet that syncs with everything? Eliminate those steps.
Makes sense. Number 5, inventory. So what does this mean here? Transport companies don't really hold stock?
It means money sitting still. Excess spare parts in the workshop you'll never use. Or idle trailers gathering dust in the yard. That is capital, just tied up, doing nothing.
A parking lot of frozen cash. I get it. Number 6, motion. How is this different from unnecessary transport?
Transport is the movement of the goods. Motion is the wasted physical movement of people or assets. Think about a driver having to detour 5 kilometers for fuel because it wasn't planned, or a mechanic walking back and forth across the yard because the tools aren't where they should be.
Inefficient movement. Got it. And finally, number 7, defects.
The most obvious one, errors. Missed deliveries, fuel spills, lost documentation, things that cost money to fix and really damage your reputation.
It's a terrifying list when you lay it all out, and the source makes a really important point here, because if I'm a manager, I look at that and I want to fix everything tomorrow.
Which is the fastest way to fail. It's overwhelming. And that's why the source gives a very specific tip. Do not try to boil the ocean.
Because you'll just burn out.
You'll burn out, and your team will revolt. Instead, you pick one waste, just one. Let's say waiting time at the yard. Then you set a target. We're going to reduce waiting time by 20% in the next 30 days.
That's manageable. It turns this huge problem into a game.
It is. Then you brainstorm simple fixes. Pre-printed documents, a dedicated loading team, staggered arrival times.
Small changes, specific target. I like that. But here's where it gets interesting for me. We often rely on our best guys for this stuff, right? The superstar driver. But the source says that's actually a problem, the problem with heroes.
Yes. Why is having a hero bad?
Yeah. If Dave, the super driver, is saving the day, what's wrong with that?
Because heroes aren't scalable, and they aren't sustainable. If your operation only runs smoothly because Dave knows a trick to get the gate open, what happens when Dave is sick or quits?
The whole thing falls apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Greystride argues you need standardized best practices. You have to get what's in Dave's head and put it on paper.
This brings us to stabilizing the chaos, which, let's be honest, sounds a bit like turning everyone into robots.
You have to frame it as a safety net, not a cage. It's about consistency. When everyone follows the same steps, errors drop. And training new people gets so much faster.
So how do we do it? The source has a 3-step process.
First, document. You go to your heroes, your top performers, and you ask them, how exactly do you do this? Why are you so much faster? You capture their magic.
So you're downloading Dave's brain.
Essentially. Second, create a checklist. But, and this is key, it has to be simple, a 1-page checklist.
Not a manual?
No. Nobody reads manuals. Post it in the yard office. Put it in the driver's mobile app. Make it impossible to miss. Think about pilots. They have thousands of hours of experience, but they still use a checklist before takeoff.
And a 3rd step?
Train. Run a quick session. Practice it. Get feedback. If the checklist is wrong, fix it. But once it's set, that's the new standard.
And the key insight here is that you can't improve what isn't stable. You need a baseline.
Precisely. Standardization creates the floor that you then build upon.
Okay, so we've got maps, lists of enemies, checklists. I can hear some listeners thinking this sounds incredibly boring. My drivers are going to hate this.
And that's the danger if you only focus on the mechanics. It's the #1 reason these things fail. But Lean, at its heart, is actually about the human element. It's about culture, empowerment.
So how do you get a gruff veteran trucker to care about flow?
You change the dynamic. You shift from do what I say to help us make this better. You stop telling them what to do, and you start asking them what's wrong.
One of the tools they suggest for this is the daily huddle.
Yes, 10 minutes every morning. You get dispatchers, maintenance, the yard crew, all together, standing up.
And what's the agenda?
Very specific, very fast. Review yesterday. Celebrate wins. That's crucial. Hey, on-time rate was up 5% yesterday. Great job. And then flag problems.
Truck 4 has a rattle. Construction on the N3 is causing delays.
Exactly. It's simple, but so few companies do it. It signals to the drivers that they are part of the solution, not just steering wheel holders.
There's another Japanese term in the source here, kaizen.
Kaizen. It means continuous improvement. In this context, it just means giving people permission for small tweaks.
Give me an example.
A mechanic saying, hey, if we move this tool chest closer, I save 5 minutes per truck. Or a driver saying, if we tweak this route, we avoid that school traffic. You don't form a committee, you just say, do it.
It's empowering them to remove the rocks in their own shoes.
Exactly. And the source emphasizes recognition. A simple thank you or a small reward. When people see their ideas matter, they stop hiding problems and start solving them.
That fuels the whole cycle. Okay, so we have the culture, we have the process, but how do we know we're actually winning? We need a scoreboard.
We need data. The transition to data-driven decisions is, well, it's non-negotiable. If you aren't measuring, you're just guessing.
And I feel like a lot of transport operations run on guessing. I think we're doing okay.
Or everyone looks busy, so we must be profitable, which is a dangerous assumption. You have to move to, I know exactly how we're doing.
So the source recommends some specific KPIs to track.
Yes. First, on-time delivery rate. That's the customer promise. If that drops, nothing else really matters. Second, load utilization percentage. Are trucks full?
Bird.
Average dwell time at warehouses. How long are we sitting still? And fourth, maintenance turnaround time. How fast do we get trucks back on the road?
Now, again, for that manager who's already overwhelmed, setting up some complex dashboards sounds like a nightmare.
And nobody looks at them anyway, which is why Greystride suggests the quick win approach again. Start with one KPI, just one. Maybe on-time delivery.
Keep it simple.
Track it weekly. And here's the important part. Visualize it. Put the results on a whiteboard in the office where everyone can see it.
Why does putting it on the wall matter?
Because you can't ignore a whiteboard in the hallway. Everyone sees it. It allows you to spot dips early. If you see the line going down on Tuesday, you can fix it by Wednesday. It turns data into a conversation starter.
If you wait for the monthly financial report, it's like reading an autopsy. The patient's already dead.
Exactly. This allows you to treat the patient while they're still sick.
So let's pull this all together. If I'm a fleet operator wanting to lean out, what's the roadmap?
It's a 5-step loop. 1, visualize, map your process. 2, eliminate waste, attack one enemy at a time. 3, standardize. 4, empower, use huddles and Kaizen. And 5, measure, use visible data to steer the ship.
And the result, as the source points out, isn't just saving a few cents on fuel, it's about resilience. Building an operation that can handle market fluctuations without breaking. It's about sleeping better at night.
Absolutely. And in an industry this volatile, that peace of mind is priceless.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. We've talked a lot about trucks and depots, but the source mentioned that waiting and motion are major forms of waste.
They're universal concepts.
So here's the provocative thought. If you applied that same rigorous 7 enemies lens to your own daily workflow, your calendar, your meetings, your inbox, how much of your day would you discover is actually just idling at the dock?
That is an uncomfortable question.
It is. How much motion are you doing? Just switching between tabs, checking emails that isn't actually moving the needle.
Most of us are probably running at about 40% efficiency, if we're being honest. And just like in transport, you can't fix it until you see it.
Something to mull over while you're stuck in traffic? Maybe we all need a value stream map for our Tuesday mornings.
I think I'd be too scared to look at mine.
That's it for this deep dive into leaning out transport operations. Huge thanks to the insights from Greystride for guiding us.
A pleasure. Keep those wheels turning.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.